All right, we're live. Steve Johnson, Justin Mao. Steve's with Home Check Home Inspections, right?
Yes, sir.
And Justin Mao is with Integrity First and CR Property Group now for 6 days.
1 week. Yeah.
Nice. And Steve, good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Yeah,
We had a little
pleasure.
tech setup going on here, right? But we worked through it. We got it all set up. And we're here to talk about everything home inspection. I was talking today, I hopped on a little bit and was telling everybody how important home inspections are because in my experience, most deals fall apart either because of appraisals or home inspections.
Correct.
And I think you guys as home inspectors sometimes become the fall guys for that, and it's not quite fair. So a lot of it has to do with educating the consumer, right?
Correct.
And my experience is we've done, I don't know, quite a few inspections with
Yeah.
Home Check, right?
I would say probably
200 a year or so
Yeah.
for,
this is our fifth, 6 year
so
together.
probably pushing 1,000 home
Oh
inspections.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so I'm excited to have you. We've always enjoyed working with you. Everybody on your team has always been extremely helpful. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to get together and have you drop some knowledge on us about home inspections, building codes. I put together a list with Sarah about commonly asked questions
Yep.
and things that I think a lot of people would feel at ease if they had a better understanding of. And I knew you were the right guy.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again
Yeah,
for coming.
Absolutely.
I talked a little about the Steve Johnson. We use Home Check because we renovate so many properties. We actually do two home inspections on our properties. And Steve or his team will come out and do an inspection before we start renovations. And we identify, things that might not have been in our scope of work. And you guys will tell us, hey, we found, something that should be identified or looked at a little bit closer structurally, or we may think that a roof from the ground looks okay. You guys get up there and
Yeah.
might find some stuff for us. So it's really helpful for us to have a better scope of work when you go into renovation. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this, what's your background, and kind of the 5-minute elevator speech for
Sure. Yeah.
Home
No
Check Home
problem.
Inspection.
Yeah. I actually started Home Check back in 1993, so this is our 26th year
Wow.
in business right now. So, and I've come out of a construction background, also worked with Terminix before I came into the building inspection trade, into their pest control termite division. So I was their general manager here in our region for a number of years. And then that segued into the building inspection trade, which when I started really was in its infancy. And not a lot of people knew about a building inspection. They didn't know what to expect. And what I did was try to take an industry that really wasn't known and professionalize it, so to speak, with the best equipment. And then, of course, at that time there was no cell phones. The first cell phone I had was from Cellular One, which was a brick phone. So
Was it in a bag?
It was in a bag.
Was it really?
Yes, it
Dude,
was.
that's pretty clutch. Like, I remember seeing people that had bag phones, and I thought they all were billionaires. Were you a billionaire back then?
No, but I thought I was.
Yeah,
So I paid the cell bill.
Billionaires
and then I knew I
and
wasn't.
people in Miami Vice.
That's
They
it.
were the only two people that
Yeah.
had bag phones.
I had
And if I had to choose between being Crockett or Tubbs and being a billionaire, I might actually be Crockett and Tubbs.
Exactly.
Speedboats,
I would-
bikinis, the whole deal, right?
And for me, it might have been Tom Selleck, but yeah,
Magnum PI.
Magnum PI, you got it.
He had
so
a bag phone.
he did,
Yeah. Or a car phone, yeah.
and better looks.
So back then,
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. So when you first got started, and it's it's cool what you said about converting the home inspection industry to an actual business, because that's I think, and you probably come across that we treat our industry, which house flipping has never really been treated as a business. Normally there's people that, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you'll have someone that's good in construction and they'll flip a couple homes a year. Or someone that's, a lot of real estate agents have a ton of success flipping homes because of their experience and knowledge, and then they hire a contractor. But for me, I was never really any of that stuff. I'm still not a real estate agent. I can't put in a light bulb. So I'm definitely not a contractor, but I came from a business background, from the car business after 10 years. That's actually how I know Justin. And I think it's what made it the transition very easy for us, because they're even two completely different businesses. There's a lot of similarities. like as a used car dealer, you have to buy a used car, recondition it, and then sell it right for some type of reasonable profit. And you have to be able to do that at a reasonable price, but also the best way to get a bad reputation in the car business is to sell bad used cars.
Absolutely.
Right, and the same thing goes with renovating homes, and that's why it's been so important and so valuable for us to have the relationship with you.
Well, you've put the home flipping business on steroids. There's no doubt about that, and I do think it's a good relationship in that many agents out there, they're now knowing that we are doing these pre-inspections and then coming in after the property's been renovated to do a post-inspection. And if there's any things that need to be touched up or completed, they're always done, and then that house.
Yeah, because what's crazy is what we'll do, and what's great about having you guys come in a second time is you actually hold our contractors accountable.
Yeah.
Because there's things that we'll have done, whether it's adding GFCIs, or the installation of something as simple as baseboard if it's not done correctly. It's been a great way for us to weed out contractors that don't work up to our, because there's a lot of stuff like my granddad used to say. He says it's good from far, but far from good.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what we've been able to do over the 14 years we've been in business has been able to not just make it look good, but actually make it be good. Right.
Oh,
So and to the average homeowner, when they walk through a house, they may not pick up on a lot of the things that you're finding during a home inspection.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about how a home. So you arrive. How would they go about contacting you for a home inspection?
Well, they would call our office. A lot of Google. People do Google searches today, home inspection in our area, and they find us, or they'll go through their agent, or see our property group, and we get that call and say, hey.
We recommend you to everybody, even if they because I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been selling a lot of turnkey rental properties to out of state buyers.
Absolutely.
And they'll come to us and ask for a recommendation. We recommend you guys.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. And so that's how it gets done, and then we set it up and go out to that property. One of our guys, automated, downloaded to the systems. They go out and they arrive there, and we look at the mechanicals, which are your, from your plumbing, water heater, to your heating, your air conditioning system, your electrical system, the roof components and systems, and then of course the interior of the home, which are your walls, your floors, doors, windows, exterior, the covering of the property, all the bathrooms, everything that has to do with plumbing, and of course in the kitchen, the stove is looked at, the dishwasher's looked at.
So the appliances and all that stuff.
Appliances are also looked at, and they're operated. So
when you get to, before I forget, Justin, do me a favor, open up your phone, go to this Facebook, it'll be on my page.
Yeah.
Turn the volume off, and then we just watch for questions or anything that people pop up. I did ask them to throw questions in the comments,
sure.
Because we may glaze over something that everybody else feels is extremely important.
That's fair.
So when someone gets to the home inspection, they'll typically meet an inspector from home check. And how many inspectors do you have?
We have 6.
Wow. Okay.
6 guys.
And what areas do you cover right now?
We cover 7 counties, so we cover.
We're in 7 counties.
You're in 7 counties. Of
Probably
course,
the
we
same
cover.
7. Yeah, I need you to anyway. So, but if they're in, let me guess. So York, Adams, Lancaster, Dauphin, Cumberland, Lebanon, Franklin,
and Duke, Perry. I'm assuming.
Oh wow, Perry. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. So that's 8.
Yeah.
You're in 8 counties.
Yeah.
So now I need to buy homes in Perry County.
There we go.
All right.
Yep.
Well, it's good to know that you're up there. So Justin, just let us know if anybody drops some questions in there, if they have anything that they want us to cover. So someone schedules the inspection either with us, their real estate agent. They show up the day of the inspection.
Yeah.
Do you recommend that buyers be there?
We do. We generally arrive about an hour early because we need to get things set up. We need that quiet time to go through the home.
Yeah.
We take things apart. Electrical panel covers have to come off, furnace covers come off, toilet covers come off. We're basically inspecting, for that full hour, and then the client arrives an hour later, and then we start to take them through the property of everything that we've been inspecting. So and we find our clients really enjoy that because they're getting the full effect of our inspection versus watching us take a cover off something. They get bored of that very quickly. So they'd rather get to the nuts and bolts of the inspection when they arrive. So that works out very well. And again, for clients who have to take time off of work, if they only have to take an hour to an hour and a half off of work versus 2 to 3 hours, that's important to them as well. Particularly teachers. We do a lot for, teachers in local high schools, elementary schools, they can't be there till 3:30.
Yeah.
So if we arrive at 2:30, they get there at 3:30, and we're still there 4:30, 5 o'clock before we're completed, and they're done. And I know they appreciate that time, because then otherwise they can't take that time away from work.
Whatever they're doing to pay for the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So how long does a normal home inspection take?
On a regular, we judge it by this: is for every 1,000 square feet is about an hour of time. So
wow.
if you're at 2,000, you're at 2 hours.
You ever done a 12,000 square foot house?
We sure have.
No
Yep,
way. So you're
right.
half. Did you guys set up camp?
Yeah, we did. We took all 5 inspectors. Some of the houses.
Oh, well, there you go.
some-
So you're out in an hour and a
yeah,
half then.
we're not too far from those 12,000 square
Wow,
foot.
that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Quick-
Okay. Go ahead.
Couple quick questions here.
Awesome.
Does CR pay for the inspections?
So we pay for the upfront
Yeah.
inspection, and then if someone buys it during the renovation phase, which happens a lot, they can either choose their home inspector or we automatically pay. So oftentimes we'll have 3 home inspections done on a property. We have one done before we start renovations. We have a second one done by home check, and then sometimes people will want to have even a third opinion. Like I've sent you, sometimes reports that we get, and it's kind of funny. It's a question I jotted down for myself. You could have literally 5 home inspectors go through a property, and you might get 5 variations. They all see the same thing, but oftentimes you'll see different variations of an opinion about one particular thing, which is something we'll cover down here. And it's one thing I've always enjoyed about home check and your team is that you have a great presentation of the material, because I've seen home inspections that come and it says, like there's a missing screen on a screen door, and it's in bold red print.
Yeah.
So, that really freaks people out.
And it does. And I've seen more and more reports that come across, and the home inspectors now are just saying the mechanical appliance is past its life and it needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
And that's according to our state law here in Pennsylvania. We don't judge things on their age, we judge them on their condition at the time of the inspection, and that's the way it should be. If all we had to do is worry about an appliance's age, we could just take a serial number, model number. We don't even need to be there.
Because I've seen, to that point, I've seen furnaces last 12 years. I've seen furnaces last 35 years.
Absolutely.
And when you do a furnace, how do you physically inspect a furnace?
Well,
let's assume it's a forced air, gas-powered furnace. Do you guys just look at the outside?
No, we got to take the covers off of these and take a look at. There's a lot of things to look at with a thermocoupler. A lot of the.
What? Hold on a second.
A thermocoupler.
Yeah, because that went right over my head.
Okay, sorry.
14-year real estate expert. But a thermocoupler is what?
That's what actually ignites the furnace. So that is usually there's a pilot light in some of the older ones.
Now you're talking my language. Pilot light, I know.
Newer ones are all electronic ignition.
Okay.
Now the newer ones, they're all enclosed systems, so they become a little bit more difficult to inspect. That's why we use our carbon monoxide meters, because you can't see what they call the heat exchanger that sits inside.
I've heard that before.
Yep, it sits inside. That's where the flame rolls through the heat exchanger and then it vents out of the house. Mm-hmm. So if that heat exchanger were to get a hole in it or a crack,
it could leak.
The only way you can pick it up is really with a carbon monoxide meter, or the flame pattern changes on it because it's getting air from other sources versus
That's
closed.
interesting. So I've found that oftentimes when there is a repair on the older furnaces, most cases it's actually more cost effective to replace them than it is to find like a heat exchanger, or what was the other thing you had said?
They're thermocoupler.
Those
are
sounds like
cheap.
something from Back to the Future.
Those
what is that called? The
thermocapacitors.
Flux capacitor. But no, like a lot of times, it might be because of the date of the unit.
Yeah.
It might cost me $1,200 in labor and materials to replace something on a 20-year-old furnace. Sometimes we can get a furnace replaced if there's no ductwork or anything else for $1,500.
Correct. And a lot of heating specialists out there, when they get into these older systems, they would prefer
swapped
to actually sell you a new one than try to remedy.
And understandably so, because sometimes when someone says, "Hey, fix my furnace," you fix their furnace, they spend $1,000 and they fix one thing, and now something else goes bad. They're like, "Well, hey, Bob, HVAC guy, you replaced my you fixed my furnace. You said it was good, but the rest of it's still 25 years old.
It can happen. Or a boiler,
Yeah.
same
Oh,
thing.
so I'd love you to tell me. I think I know how it works, but tell us how a boiler works.
A boiler. Well, it's pretty simple.
I know,
A
but
boiler-
it sounds almost too simple when I explain it, and I feel like I'm leaving something out. So, just so everybody that's watching knows, the first thing we talked about was a forced air furnace. Right? There's a flame. It heats up. It blows basically just hot air through the ductwork.
air over a pot, so
Yeah,
to speak. It's
yeah.
heated, and the air gets heated.
Now, I've always heard that. So, a boiler, you either see radiator or hot water baseboard.
or convectors. You have convectors. So
Dropping
all-
serious lingo on me here.
Convector is
Yeah.
nothing more than imagine an electric baseboard,
Okay.
but it has a pipe going through it.
Hot
and-
water
and-
runs through it.
And little fins. Yes, correct.
So, I've heard that the hot water baseboard is actually more efficient.
it is very efficient
But
because
most people think that it's. I think that the natural thing is when they see it, they think old, right? Like when you see radiator or something. Now they're not installing like in new homes. Very seldomly are they.
No,
installing.
you won't
It's
see-
expensive.
if somebody wanted to do that, somebody was antiquing their home or doing something Victorian, and they wanted those old
I
radiators.
had it in my
there.
house. My house was built in '96, but I love it. Like it's very cost effective for me to heat my house. And the way I always imagined it is, I mean, when you have hot water, like how long does it take hot water to cool down?
It takes a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
How long
absolutely.
does it take hot air to cool down?
Nothing.
Like
It's
that.
done
So
like
if you
that.
think about it,
Yeah.
that's why am I right?
Correct.
Nice.
No, you're right. Absolutely. You got it. You got it.
The dummy got one, but no. So that's yeah, that makes sense. So it is rather simple. So go ahead and explain to us how a boiler works, and finish up if you could, if you don't mind, why it's more efficient than hot. I kind of gave you.
Sure,
the
you
answer.
did.
I gave you a tip. Don't worry, buddy. I
You gave
got
the
you.
answer.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you.
technical stuff
So-
you need, I got you.
Thank you.
All
I
right,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
I'm not just a pretty face.
That's what I hear.
No,
Yeah.
I like to add a little bit of expertise when I can.
Gotcha.
So, but how's the boiler work?
Well, the boiler, honestly, it's nothing more than a closed vessel that has water underneath it as a flame.
Yep.
It heats it. It's almost like a pressure cooker because
Got it.
it's a closed vessel, and it has an expansion tank when the
So
water.
how's the expansion? So I see this, but how's the so you have
That's
almost
full
like
of
a,
air.
like a pot, almost
Yep.
like a kettle,
Correct. Yep.
and it heats up the water, and then what happens?
If you've ever pressure cooked vegetables or
Yes.
anything like that, on the top is that little whistle where it starts
Yep.
to whistle and a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
teapot, whatever.
So
Yep.
now imagine your system in your house. It's closed,
Yep.
completely closed. The radiators are closed.
Yes.
The convectors are closed.
Yep.
Well, now this water, as it starts to heat up, it wants to go someplace.
Correct.
Okay. Now that's where the expansion tank comes in.
Okay.
It's full of air. So the excess pressure from that heating system
Yes.
hits that pressure vessel
Yep.
and calms it down, so to
Okay.
speak. So that, and then usually a boiler system's not a steam system. We don't want to get too complicated, but the boiler systems have what they call a pump. And
Yeah.
that pump helps push the water
Out.
through the system,
Yeah.
the hot water, so it's called
Okay.
circulating pump.
Yeah.
So it's instantaneous, and a lot of people will retrofit their steam systems
Yeah.
with a circulating pump, and they won't need the steam anymore.
just use the hot
They're
water.
just going to use the hot water. Correct. It makes it move through the system at a faster rate. And then, of course, the residual heat, because it takes a while for it to cool down, you're still getting that residual heat through trans.
So, like, and contrary to what I've found is, we oftentimes can fix boilers. Like,
Yeah.
because I think maybe the simplicity of the system,
Yes.
it's kind of easier to swap parts out and not jeopardize the integrity of the system. Like, I have Keith Doyle from American Heating and Oil.
Yeah.
He's like, so there's rare. It's like finding an antique car mechanic, right? But Keith Doyle is one of the guys that actually knows. Do you know Keith?
I do.
He knows how to actually work on boiler system
Yep.
because it's not for everybody.
Correct.
A lot of today's HVAC techs, depending on their age, have only ever installed or worked on
Forced air.
systems.
That's right.
So, and then one other question about HVAC.
Yeah.
I don't know if this show's more for me or for the people watching, but these have been questions for me. But a lot of times we'll have a system and the actual furnace or heat pump or air handler is working, but the outside condensing unit is not
Okay.
working.
All right.
And then I'll have the HVAC tech tell me that the condensing unit has to be replaced, but we have to put a whole new system in because the refrigerant.
That's right.
So how's that
Yeah.
work? Because I think a lot of times people like the furnace or HVAC system's working, and even if it's working good, I'd like you to clarify how old is the system when they have to be concerned, because it might be good and then 3 years later they don't just have to replace the AC unit; they may have to do the whole
Correct.
system.
Well-
so can you tell us about how that how's that work?
So you brought up a good point. So in an air conditioner system, there's an outside unit called the condenser,
Yes.
and the air handler is inside. So the condenser outside, if that fails for any reason, it could be a small capacitor, which is a simple fix,
Yeah.
or they have a leak in the refrigerant line, and the refrigerant leaks out of the system.
Got
So
it.
there is none there. So you're not going to get any cooling at all. And in the heat pump mode, it just reverses from cooling during the heating mode and
Yeah.
reverses it over to heat. If there's any problem with the refrigerant line or lack of refrigerant in the system, the air conditioning system's not going to work. It's no different than, think about this, it's no different than your freezer.
Yeah.
So think about this. So if your freezer has a hole in the refrigerant line in it, okay, because it has refrigerant in it as well,
Yeah.
you're not going to make ice. You're not going to get anything happening through there,
Yeah.
okay? And just imagine, just think about this a second. So inside your air conditioning system, inside the air handler,
Yeah.
is an A coil. That A coil gets extremely cold. It's going to. That's okay. Now, if you didn't have the air from inside blowing over it, it will freeze just like your freezer does.
Okay.
If you had a fan
Right.
blowing hot air in your house past your freezer coils, well, your freezer would never freeze, but you would get all the cold air into your house.
Right.
The same thing is with an A coil inside a house.
Yes.
If that air stops blowing over that, it turns to a block of ice.
Yes.
Or if there's not enough refrigerant in the system,
It just keeps running.
it'll actually turn the outside unit
Yeah.
into a block of ice.
Yeah. Right.
And then they don't work. So now today's older systems, 20 years ago, they used a different refrigerant. Okay, R12 or R22 or
Yeah.
22. Today's refrigerant is different.
134.
134. That's
Is that what it
right.
is?
Yep. So you can't. So
That's
you
stunning.
can't mix the two.
Yeah.
So there's only so much of the old R20 still out there,
Yeah.
and it's about $85 a pound.
What's that compared to the new stuff?
You can't get the new. I mean, when I say you can't get the new stuff's nothing per pound. It's like
Yeah.
$10 or $12.
So that's why it's like a lot of times the recharge a system and potentially
could cost you $400 or $500
Yeah,
just to
versus
recharge versus
a new
just getting a new
system being
system.
done.
Plus, they can't replace one
without
without replacing the
Yeah.
entire inside unit
Right.
today.
The two don't work together. The
Correct.
outdated. Yeah, I got you. So I made some notes here, and again, home check,
Yeah.
inspection. Your inspection people, right? And you cover. We said eight counties.
Yeah.
And they can look you up online,
They can
Google,
Google us.
any of that
Ab-
stuff.
absolutely.
Do you guys work with all the real estate offices? I think a lot of times people think that, or under the impression that, this real estate company uses this home inspection company. I mean, do you guys work with Berkshire, Howard Hanna,
We do.
all that stuff?
We work. I mean, being 26 years, we work with almost every real estate company in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Awesome. How much is a home inspection?
The average one under 3,000 square feet is $345.
And for $345, that is what? That's what we call a whole house.
That gives you what we call the property inspection that we're looking at.
And run that through us again. So a whole house inspection, you get to it. What are you going to check?
You're going to look at the grounds, the exterior,
Yeah.
the roof, the attic,
Yeah.
the structure, which
Yeah.
can be basement, crawl spaces, slabs.
Yeah.
And then you're going to look at the plumbing system, which is all of the plumbing, drain lines, waste lines.
So when you look at plumbing,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
go,
look,
yeah,
I'm trying to think
yeah.
of it through a normal homeowner. So when
Yeah.
you look at the plumbing system, what exactly are you looking for?
We look for any kind of leaks. First of all, that's
Yeah.
the number
Sure, I
one
think
thing,
that's
and
obvious,
that's
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Or any kind of corrosion or things that are not connected properly.
So I want to ask you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna lob you a softball
Okay,
here.
yeah.
It's underhand,
Yeah.
very slow,
Beach ball. Yeah,
red
yes,
bat,
I'm
right?
ready.
What about you ready?
Yep.
Negative pitch plumbing.
Well, it's not going to drain well.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I think a lot
yeah.
of people wouldn't know. Like this
Yeah.
is to me one of the benefits of an inspection. If you look at normal drain lines and you see PVC, CPVC, or what's
CPC, cast iron,
Yeah.
it all has to have a fall rate on
Yeah,
it.
that's
So-
what it's for.
And if that fall rate is there, or slope, they call it slope
Yeah,
fall rate.
I did say slope.
Yeah,
okay.
and you're
but
correct.
fall sounds way
It
better.
does, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't have that, you can't have stuff going uphill.
Yeah, so you'd
Yeah.
have water sitting here,
Yeah.
and then eventually that's how you might have a
Correct.
backed up drain or something like that if you put too much water on
Yeah,
it.
it's not gonna. Things won't flush correctly. Things
So
won't drain
plumbing, you
correctly.
check virtually everything that's visible. What
Ah.
about So we've had issues before where we have, plumbing that's visible at the ground level and then everything's exposed. Even on public water and public sewage systems, in your experience, what's the customer responsible for? So you have the plumbing to the house, but then it actually connects at the curb. And a real estate friend of mine in Maryland was talking about the other day how he advised to have a scope, like a camera. Do you guys do that?
We do not scope sewer. I hit a sewer scope
Yes.
inspection.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't do that.
We do not do
so
that.
So do you suggest or recommend someone when someone asks for that?
Well,
or what's your opinion on that?
Honestly, you can see a lot by running water in that property.
Okay.
If you run that water 45 minutes to an hour in that property, I mean, flushing toilets, running sinks,
That's
showers,
how I- yeah.
tubs, you can pretty much. I just had one the other day. I was on with a number of guys down in Yo. We ran the water and
Backed up.
it backed right up in the
Yeah,
basement.
his specific concern was talking about tree roots.
Tree roots.
And I guess like maybe the tree root grows into the system or something,
And it-
so it might flow okay. But
And I'm not dissuading anybody. We've
Yeah.
looked at part of that as our
No, I
business.
appreciate
We
your
wanna do
honesty
that. Yeah,
about
so
it,
it's one of those things that some people feel more comfortable having a sewer, what they call a sewer scope done. They
Yeah.
undo the cap and
Yeah.
they run that scan through there. But you are correct. From the street to the house is the homeowner's responsibility. In
which
water,
I didn't know until
water and sewer.
Yeah.
And that's where the money comes in if they have a problem.
You gotta dig up
When
to
you
the
start
curb,
digging,
yeah.
you start paying.
And the only way, as soon as you call the township, they're going to tell you, well, first inspect your part, and then if it's not yours, then let us know. Like, they won't come out and diagnose it.
No, you have to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it
That's
first.
right.
And that can be costly.
Very
A couple
costly.
$1,000.
It's about $150 an hour for somebody to bring a backhoe.
But in
and
your
start digging.
experience,
Yeah.
by doing the water test, you've been able to identify most issues you think.
Absolutely. And then if there is a block to the street, there is a fresh air vent that's right in the yard with a little
Okay.
cap on it.
I see that. Clean
Well,
out, is that also what it's
it-
called? Yeah.
It's not made for a clean out, but it's
Yeah.
more for air
Yeah.
through pressure.
Okay.
And that water will come right out of that vent. If
Oh,
there's a
wow,
problem,
okay.
If there's a problem, and I've seen it, you're running all the water, you're like,
Yeah.
you won't go outside in the front yard and
Yeah.
there's water coming out of that pipe.
So I have down here
Yeah.
also, tell us about pest inspections. Do you guys do
Sure.
those?
We
Here's the pest. I don't know if you,
Yep.
you like
Here we
that.
go.
What's
Oh,
that? What
that's
type
a-
of pest is
That's
that?
that's a subterranean termite. That's
Ooh,
what that
I would have
is.
called that larvae.
It looks just like it. It looks like a grain of rice with legs.
Okay, so this is what again?
So that is a termite. That's what they call
Oh.
a subterranean termite, and those are the workers. Those are the ones that actually. And by the way, that's the only insect that eats wood
Yeah.
for a food source, but it's really not the wood that they're after. It's the cellulose material.
Okay.
So termites will eat backs of carpet, insulation, cardboard,
Oh, wow.
anything that contains this cellulose in it. Termites will eat that as a food source.
So when you do a pest inspection, are you looking for termites? Is that it? What's-
We look, so the wood destroying insect inspection here in our area
Yeah.
is going to be looking for subterranean termites, what they call powder post beetle, which a lot of farms have those in, old house borer, carpenter ants,
Okay.
carpenter bees, and wood wasps.
So how do you? A lot of times, I've seen termite damage.
Oh,
I've never seen actual termites though.
okay.
So is this like a superimposed image? I mean, is this
That's exactly what they
so
look
what's
like.
the size of that look like? What would you refer?
They're actually about an eighth of an inch.
Long.
They're just picture a rice grain.
Okay.
That's about what the size they are.
Yeah.
With legs and a head
Oh wow.
and body. That's
Sounds
it.
ugly.
It is ugly. They are ugly.
So, other than obviously being able to see them, like
They're
how
very-
else can you identify?
Well, they're very difficult to see, and unfortunately, sometimes you don't see them, and then they swarm
Yeah.
in the springtime.
Okay.
They come out of the ground. People call them flying ants. They see
Okay.
them in the springtime.
Yeah, right.
Folks, if you see flying ants in the springtime,
Call home check.
they're not ants.
Yeah.
They're termites.
Ants don't fly.
They don't
They're
So,
termites.
termites.
And where would they see them? Are they outside, or do you
they
normally find
can
them
be
inside the house?
inside. They can bring in window wells, door thresholds,
And
sliding
right, the
wood,
weather's exposed.
right along your shoe molding in
Okay.
your rooms in your home.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, so what if someone wants to get their house checked for termites, but they're not buying it? They've owned it. Do you guys?
Oh yeah, we do.
that?
People say we'd like because we don't do any treating. We're
Yeah.
not a treatment company.
I would
they
call that
trust
like a
us to come in.
non-biased
They come in.
third-party
They
opinion.
trust us to come in and do the
It's
inspection.
like I always said. I was like, when if you send out the septic guy, of course he's always gonna, and not
Right.
that you would ever think that anybody does, but like there's just always this suspicious feeling that you have that when
Well, the good thing was, Eric, you remember that one of your properties in Carlisle, there was a company that came in there and said that they had active termites.
Yes.
And
Oh, this just happened.
It just happened.
Fairground Ave in Carlisle. Yeah.
And we went back out, and the house had already been treated for termites, and there were no live
Yeah.
termites.
So they
there.
saw evidence of previous activity, but no active termites.
Correct.
But they kind of whipped through and said, "Oh, hey, $800, we can knock that out for you." Well, because we did a home inspection with Steve, I went back and I said, there's no way, because we had renovated it. Either we missed it and didn't treat it, which is that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Or somebody's not telling the full story. Steve sent his people back very quickly. Because I think you were like, hey, we don't want to miss anything. We want to make sure that the integrity of our inspection stands up.
Yeah.
Went back and sure enough, documented it, pictures, reports, like over the top.
Yeah.
And we sent it back to I think at that point it was either the buyer or the tenant of the property management company. They were like, hey, enough said.
And it was treated.
Yes.
With drill marks.
Yes. So yeah, it was easy to see that.
That was an easy one.
So the other part is too, sometimes if you don't catch wood destroying pests quick enough, then what becomes the concern?
People think through myths or legends or whatever that termites will chew your house down, in no time. That's not true. They eat about a board foot a year is what they eat.
Okay.
So they got to be in a property a long time for you to have major structural damage or damage to the property.
But it can happen, right? I mean,
it can. If properties are not looked after, and
What
termites
would,
are there 30 years, or even 10
what
years.
would some of the signs be that someone may notice or look for that they do have termite activity? Substantial, even if it means that there's, maybe they're too late, but better late than never, right? What would you see? I've always, like in the beans, I can go down and you'll see, this isn't a great picture of it, but it looks like instead of a solid beam, there's little like holes through it, and then I actually always take a pen because typically, those beams, they're solid. No, but you like push on it and it'll almost go through it. So they almost seem like, do they eat from the inside out?
They do, and they stay in because termites can't be exposed to light,
and
they can't be exposed to air. So that's why they hide in the mud trails, the mud tunnels.
So you'll look at it to the naked eye and you wouldn't notice it.
Right
if you push on it, I've pushed it, it's gone through.
Correct. It's just like this. If this was a wall and this was painted, they stay right beneath the paint, so you can't see them.
Sneaky little bugs.
They are sneaky. Oh yeah.
All right. So pests, wood destroying pests. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's interested in having an inspection done, even if you're not buying or selling the house, look up Home Check. You guys will come out and check it out.
Absolutely.
And then if you find them, do you recommend the treatment, or how does that work?
The report that we use is the National Pest Management Report.
So they can take that report and then go to.
They can take it. It'll say active termites found, and we recommend treatment. And then
shout out Critter Crushers. Critter Crushers.
Yep, Critter Crushers. I do know them.
It's like a one-man band.
It is.
Super easy to work with. I love the name Critter Crushers.
Yep.
If you guys are looking for that, I would recommend them. Steve's probably going to be careful about who we recommend.
Yeah.
I don't want you to burn any bridges. Yep. I'll say it. I use Critter Crushers, and I also use Telepest.
Telepest in Lancaster.
Yeah, Telepest we use.
I used to know the owner of that little guy here in York, but he sold that out to his partner.
Okay. Anyway, so we use Telepest and Critter. I just like saying Critter Crushers. Other inspection we have here is radon. Tell us about radon. What is it? Why is it bad? And what do you do to get rid of it?
Okay. Well, radon in our area is we have a lot of radon because we have a lot of rocky. You have, absolutely. We have a lot of rocky. It's all geological.
Yeah.
So down underneath us, down deep, is what they call uranium-238. And that's the same stuff that, the uranium-1 that got sold to the Russians. We need that. We build missiles with it. We put them in our plants, our nuclear power plants. Well, this is naturally occurring in the earth, and it decays. And as it decays, it changes its atomic structure. And finally, when it reaches us here in the air, it's radium or radon-222, and that's the gas. You can't see it, smell it, taste it, and it moves at the speed of light. So it's very fast. It's a heavy atom. As you breathe it, it begins to pound into your lungs.
Did you go to college for like 49 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Either that or you just have a lot of experience. If you guys haven't caught on yet, Steve's pretty knowledgeable about his business.
Yeah.
You drop uranium, speed of light, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you gotta do that. Yeah. So I do teach continuing ed though for the state and real estate. So yeah, in fact I have another class tomorrow. We're teaching.
How do you go? So we were talking about that today, not to get off topic, but we held a contractor cookout kind of celebration appreciation. It was a big hit. You were there, right?
Yeah,
We had
there
over
was a ton of
200 people
people
turn
there.
out. Contractors we
Wow.
work with, everywhere from painters to framers to drywallers to septic guys to roofer, gutter, window installers. And we were thinking about I don't know, sponsoring or hosting like continuing ed. Has anybody like an office done that? Like, where do you normally do?
I do it for the real estate school here in York, and
Okay.
they do a lot with Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
So the agents that need the continuing ed credits, they'll come and take my course.
And where do you typically?
I
teach?
do it all. I teach this course. This time is called the Triple Crown of Inspections. That's
Okay.
wood destroying insects, radon,
Okay.
and mold, air quality mold sampling testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So-
If you don't mind, I'll follow
Sure.
up with you
Yeah,
about
no
that
problem.
through Sarah. Because
Yeah.
we were thinking about maybe just hosting it, catering it,
Yeah.
and it would cost us a little bit of money, but it's a way just for us to give back, and
Yeah.
it's good exposure, I think, for different real estate. We've hired a lot of real estate agents in the last 6 months. Justin just started with us, not a licensed agent, but works directly with us, selling our property. So
Yeah.
this is his first one today.
Yes, sir.
We talked about it a little bit, but the 6th day on the job, right? And is it 6 days? Six days?
Yeah,
Not
last
counting
Monday.
weekends. So last Monday came from the car business. I worked with Justin off and on for probably 20 years, and sold his first house.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible.
No inspection on this one. It's cash as is.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know. I want you to think you'll remember that address.
Oh, I
It's
will.
actually 4 days
I'll be
from
like,
now.
hey,
I didn't see that
I didn't
autumn
get
come
that
down the
inspection.
pipeline. What's
I'm
up?
looking. That's,
Um,
that's Harvest Drive in Gettysburg.
That's
I'm
right.
looking for
I
that.
got you. But we'll
Yeah.
certainly refer the new owner to
Yeah,
you
there you go.
once, because he's going to renovate it. He actually
Yeah.
he wants to do 15 or 20 projects a year.
Yeah,
and
and he did say when he hits that 15 or 20 that he may look us up to list his properties for
and then
us as well.
of course when he lists us up, we'll send an inspection your way, because we always suggest, even when we get a conventional listing, that they do an inspection up front so that there's no surprises.
And that does, it's nice. It's nice that your group does that, because what consumers need to understand is that when CR Property Group is paying for these inspections, that's saving you as a consumer $345
Well, yeah,
or
plus
$395.
yeah. So what's
Correct.
So $345 for the whole house. What's a pest cost?
And when they get it with a whole house, it's 50, so it's $395.
Okay, so,
So when-
$50.
Yeah.
Radon,
Radon is 100.
water.
The water can range from 50 to 175
Okay.
because there's different conventional.
So that's
evidence.
actually
Yes.
just let's finish up the
Mhm.
radon.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into the next two.
Yeah.
So radon, you talked about how it can be bad.
Yeah.
How do you test for it?
We use a continuous monitor, so we use an electronic monitor.
Mhm.
We have 25 of those, so they're out all the time. And in the state of Pennsylvania, for real estate transactions only, it's a 2-day test. So
Okay.
it's got to be a minimum of 46 hours. We put our monitor in there. 2 days later, we retrieve it electronically, get the results, put the report out to the client, and they have it. Anything over 4.0, they recommend mitigation. And mitigation, quite frankly, is a very simple process of putting a PVC pipe in the basement floor, running it out of the house, putting a small fan on it, and then running it
Close
above
it
the
out.
roof.
Yeah.
Start the fan up, and your radon's gone.
So if you've ever seen, like, it almost looks like a dryer vent on steroids.
Yeah.
It comes out from the foundation, then it has like a big kind of bulge in the center.
Yeah.
And then another continued portion of
Yeah.
what'd you call it, PVC pipe?
Yep.
So that's kind of what that looks like.
Yeah.
I've always noticed it.
Or gutters, so sometimes, or downspouting. Sometimes
Yeah.
they'll make it a little bit more
Surrounded in
aesthetically
downspout,
pleasing.
yeah.
Sure, yes, absolutely. And radon, honestly, a radon treatment is $925.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
I mean,
what
termite
happens-
treatment is more money than radon treatment.
Yeah, oftentimes it is. And then a lot of times if the treatment is done, sometimes for FHA, if there's any type of, structural damage, which could be, simple, then
Yeah.
you have to also do that as well. Like
Yeah.
they'll want to see not only a clean report after it's been treated,
Yeah.
then they want to see that any structural
And we do
damage. that was
the
done.
structural when we're doing it with destroying it. So we do the structural for free. We're already we're
Already there.
certified inspectors that can do structure. So if we're there and we see something that might not be structural in nature just because of damage,
Yeah.
then we'll put it down that it's not structural. If it is, then we make
Because
recommendations.
that's always the
on
first
repair.
question, even by a loan underwriter. They want to know if
If
there
there's any
is.
structural, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So tell us about a water inspection. You said they can range from $50 to $175.
Yeah.
What is a water inspection? What's the difference between 50 and 175?
Yeah, no problem. What we're looking for is potable drinking water. So if somebody's buying a rural property with a
Yeah.
well on it,
Yep.
they want to know that their water is good to drink. So The one test that they have is what they call coliform bacteria. So we're looking for that coliform bacteria in the water, and if they have a high enough amount, then they'll put a UV light on it, an ultraviolet light, and kill it. Now, the other ones are for like an FHA loan, the Federal Housing Authority's loans.
Yes.
They require chemical and bacteria. So they want to see iron, hardness, lead.
Because then you get it a little bit more expensive. What's that?
Yeah.
Reverse osmosis?
Yeah, reverse osmosis. If they have nitrates, high nitrates or nitrites in the system, and the VA is very similar for what they want
The
as
panel.
well.
And USDA.
And USDA uses FHA
So
standards.
they mirror the exact
yes.
things.
Mhm, yeah.
So a UV light, how's that work?
That UV light is it's put on right after the water comes into the house after the pressure tank. That UV light's right there, and what happens is that water comes through that ultraviolet
Zaps
light, it zaps it.
Yeah.
Yep, just like a
That's
mosquito.
magic. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it zaps the water, kills the bacteria, and then
And
the
it
water
makes
continues
no
to
difference
pass
with
through.
that. You could have 1,000 count bacteria in that. Once it runs through that UV light, it's zero.
And if someone buys a house, it fails for bacteria. If they need a UV light, what's in your
About
experience?
$850 is what it costs a plumber to come in and put a UV
And
light.
then what maintenance do they need?
Every year that, unfortunately, that UV light, just like a light bulb, it
Yeah.
starts to lose its potency.
You replace
And they
it.
have to, for $90, you replace the bulb.
Okay, that's not too
Yeah.
bad. And then if it has lead, chemicals, iron, what's the normal remedy
That's
for
a
that?
whole different, like you had mentioned earlier about the reverse
I
osmosis.
have no
So
idea what it does.
if somebody has nitrates or nitrites, which is fertilizer,
Okay.
because we have a lot of farms,
Oh,
a lot
sure,
of fertilizer, if it gets into the water, then they can put a reverse osmosis under their kitchen sink, and they have a special tap that they take their drinking water from that.
Right.
So that's what
Because
they
I don't
use for
drink
that.
out of the shower.
No,
I try not to.
I try not to drink out of the tub spout or the shower.
Yeah,
Amen.
I mean,
yeah.
when there's an emergency, you gotta, that's all hands on deck. But I actually I got into a bit of a, I wouldn't say argument, but an issue with a potential buyer because they wanted a whole house
Okay.
RO.
Yes.
And that's much more expensive.
A reverse osmosis under your kitchen sink will cost you $250.
Yeah.
A whole house reverse
Couple
osmosis
grand.
will cost you $1,400 to $1,800,
Yeah.
depending on. You got to remember, all these systems are based on gallons per minute.
Yeah.
So the bigger the house, the bigger the system, because they have more
Yeah.
water coming
Yeah.
through it. So that's how they base.
But it's
those
really, I
systems.
mean, so what's the risk in, and I'm asking even because I don't know. So if you had a reverse osmosis system on your drinking water,
Yes.
which I think would be the kitchen sink.
Correct.
So, and you didn't have it on your, faucets through the bathrooms,
Yeah.
Your outdoor spigots, every other water line. What, if any, impact would
Well,
that have on you?
You'd have to, first of all, you have to drink out of there for a long time before possible effects start to happen to you.
Because as a kid, I used to drink out of the garden hose. Maybe that explains
I
a little
used to
bit.
drink
about-
it. Yeah, me
I was
too.
drinking lead and didn't even know it. That's why I'm so weird now. But no, so you'd have to take
Yeah.
it quite a bit. But what about like
Taking
showering
showers,
versus-
nothing. You're not going to have anything happen to you taking a shower
Yeah.
with a high nitrates. You're just nothing's going to
You
happen.
wouldn't
to you.
notice any difference.
No.
Okay.
Now maybe lead, you might get way down in the shower a little bit.
Good one. Good one. I like that. So now moving on, septics.
Yep.
So I have a thing up here because I think honestly a lot of people don't know really how a septic works. Is this a pretty good image? Did we do a good job here?
That is a very good. Let me take a look at that.
So yeah. So
Absolutely.
if you want to go, actually you can point up here and show
Yeah.
us like where the house would be.
Yep. So if we're taking a look at this now, by the way, many people don't know about septics because they've lived on public sewer all their life. So when they flush their toilet, they just figure it goes
It's gone.
someplace it's gone.
Yeah.
But when you own your own house in the rural area and you have a septic system, you are the sewage treatment plant. So it comes out of the house into what they call the septic tank. That's the first area.
Yeah.
And those are called baffles. These on either side. We have an inlet baffle and an outlet baffle.
I know that.
So all your waste, everything that you flush
And
down
right
that
up here is
toilet.
Justin.
Yeah, there you go.
So-
Yeah.
I'm
And then
sorry, dude. I'm just
I
kidding.
might be-
Anybody could have been sitting there.
Yeah, that's all right.
I might be down here.
But Steve's
I might
our
be-
guest, so we
yeah.
couldn't have been. I hopefully understand. So
We're good.
inlet baffle.
And
So
then-
here's the house. It comes
Yep.
in.
And one of the things that they didn't ever, that's okay, there's what they call a distribution tank, a D-box.
Yeah.
And in that D-box, when this pipe comes through, it hits that D-box, and if they have a 2 or 3 pipe system, the D-box levels everything out, and it all goes equally down into their piping system, which goes down into their yard.
Okay.
So they might have a 1-pipe system, 2-pipe system, 3-pipe system.
Got it.
And then that drains out into a stone bed out in their yard.
Which is this here, right?
That is correct. Yep.
So the one thing we don't have, so to walk us through, so
Yeah.
sewage comes in,
And hits that baffle, and all the solids are supposed to float down to the bottom.
okay?
So that scum, not to be disgusting,
But it's like
those
it
are,
floats, it's
those
like the
are all
film that you see on top.
oils,
Yeah.
gases, toilet paper, things like that go up there.
Okay,
Now this baffle is supposed to protect from any of that scum.
getting in here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All we want is liquid out of that tank. We
So-
don't want anything else.
If I'm reading this correctly, wastewater should be the only thing that
That
goes
is
through.
correct. Yep.
Sludge goes to the bottom, scum comes to the top, this goes out, and then this perforated pipe that cut, it just kind of,
It leaches
flows
down through gravity. It's a
and what
gravity
is
system.
geotextile fabric?
It's nothing more than a fabric that does not allow any of the sand and grit and things like that to come down in your drain field and clog it up.
And then the soil absorption field, it just kind of
It's all
Sips
natural.
into the ground.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, I've had to replace these systems
Yeah.
before. When they do a perk and a probe,
Yes.
that's obviously up here. What do they do to ensure that a system passes?
What they're doing with a perk and probe is taking down holes. They usually go down anywhere from 6 to 8 inches or even further.
Yeah.
And then they're measuring the amount of water that they measure down. If they run into water,
Yeah.
they measure that first. They need to come back and do another measurement to see if the ground can actually absorb the water.
Which I think a lot of times for us, like you were saying about radon,
Yeah.
we run into some trouble here in our area because of that. If it's rocky, it's not going to absorb.
No problem. Or what, unfortunately, around where we also live, like in the areas of Dover and going up through Wellsville and those places, and Lancaster,
Yeah.
we have a lot of clay soil.
Okay.
And the last time
It's
I
hard.
checked, clay is not a good absorber
Yeah.
of water, and therefore most of those systems that get put in, they put they'll put in a.
Put a what in?
I just lost my mind.
Let's go ahead. So we were talking about absorption areas,
Yeah.
and the like because we're around
Sand.
here.
They'll put,
we
in a
have a
sand,
lot-
they'll put a sand mound.
Okay, so sand mound, let me guess, is
Yeah.
just this, but up here.
There you go. It's an inverted. You
Because
just take that and invert it,
upside
and
down.
then that's your sand.
So
mound.
then here's the other thing. How is this different than a cesspool?
So the cesspool, if we're looking at this, it's
Yeah.
not a vessel. It's
Yeah.
a hole in the ground
Yeah.
that has stone around it or
Yeah.
block,
I've seen block turned on its side.
all kinds of stuff, and then it just passively absorbs through the block
Yeah.
into the ground, and down at the bottom of those is generally some kind of stone.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem with a cesspool over time it can be is depends on the use of it. So if you have a family of 5 or 6, and that's not a very big cesspool,
Yeah.
then they can overtask that system. It can't drain through the block. It might be matted, it might be clogged, it
Yeah.
could be full of toilet paper.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I've actually had a guy with cesspools that'll come out and they almost like power wash it.
Yes.
Because there's slime and sludge and toilet paper, not to be nasty, but it gets.
Well, they come through and
block
pressure,
it.
they
Yeah.
pressure wash it all
I
down.
use Royce Jefferson is like the king of. Do you know Royce?
I do not.
Royce has been in business. I don't want to date him. He's been in business for a while. He kind of knows what he's
Does
doing.
he do all the pressure washing of the?
Yeah,
That's
because a lot of times I've had people that come out and they're just like, it's a cesspool, we won't touch it. He actually will come out, and, power wash it. I might
Yeah.
be generalizing what he
Yeah.
does, but he cleans it, which most people won't do, and then he'll retest it, and every time he's done it for us, it tests
The
fine.
only thing with cesspools is that in the day they called it black water, which was all your solids from your toilet
Is
went
that
into the
worse than
cesspool.
gray water?
And then gray water is your laundry
Laundry.
water, your sink water.
Okay.
People would run that into a creek
Yeah.
or in the bushes
Yeah.
or in the yard. They didn't
In their
care
neighbor's
because it was gray water.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It's
It wasn't
okay.
sewage. Yeah.
But
so-
today, all of that needs to be connected to a treatment system, and that's where some of these, no matter what, when you come into a cesspool, if you find that they're running things out into the creek or whatever, that all has to be attached, or when it happens, and I'm sure you know, as soon as things get attached, the SEO says
No,
no.
yeah, you can't do it. It's not set up. For
That's
it, so
correct.
you're
Yeah,
out.
that's right. Yeah,
So how do you test one of these systems? You do septic tests?
we do.
Okay, so how do you do a septic inspection?
They call it, well, we load the system from the house, so we do what they call a dynamic flow. So we
Okay.
run, just like you would live there normally.
Turn the shower on, flush the toilet,
Everything,
run the
everything,
dishwasher.
just like you would do every single day. We
Yeah.
do the load of laundry, the big tub gets filled up, so all that gets run in here.
Laundry? That's
We
part of
do-
the yeah.
Part-
One
if
load.
they-
That's it.
We do one load.
Yeah.
Put your
Do you
pellet-
fold?
we don't do that.
Oh, okay.
If we have time.
That's like me then.
If they leave
at
me
home,
check-
when I tell my wife to do, I wash, I don't fold.
I think I just saw it on Facebook.
It
Your
did,
wife
yeah.
has found
Oh, yeah.
chores
Oh,
for you
yeah.
to keep things at. So I think that's
But
awesome.
research has it that the more chores you do at home, the more likely you are to end up in divorce.
Is that what
That's
you,
real article.
Okay.
I posted it.
Yeah.
I shared it. It was from a reputable source.
I saw it.
And I told her, I said, all this time you've been yelling at me here. I'm just looking out for the best of our.
I don't think she's buying it.
So it's, anyway, I just
So,
have a credible source.
you
right?
do,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
It's like you with the termites.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you-
Yeah.
would you-
it's like
would you
Congressman
be willing to
Schiff.
talk to her about that?
He is a credible source
Yes.
out of
yes.
California.
No, I mean,
yes.
yeah.
So here, all that water runs in there. Now here's the big thing, and people need to understand this: that top is the main manhole cover.
So these are like when you see the concrete.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
These
Those.
are like the two concrete.
It's
things
important
that you
for people to know this.
see. Yeah.
This is called an observation port.
Yeah.
Those. This is the manhole where it should be pumped out.
Oh, okay.
Many people in the day have
So
that.
these are smaller, right?
Those are those 4-inch white
I
pipes that
got
stick
it.
out of the
So I
ground.
got clean out.
Yeah, they
Okay.
say it's clean out, but it's not.
Okay.
Because if you imagine this, I have my pumper's hose,
Yeah.
I stick it down here, where's that gonna go? How am I gonna pump this out? And then better yet, my hose goes right
To
here.
the bottom.
So I just suck this here,
Yeah.
but I don't even clean the rest of the tank out because I can't get my hose here.
Yeah. So you need to come in through.
You have to come in through the manhole.
Yeah.
So we require that to be exposed or dug up.
Yeah.
Which, and today many townships and many boroughs and areas in our area now require this to have a riser. So if it's 4 feet down, they dig it up and
Or
they
if you
put a
bring
cylinder,
Bring it up to grade. they
bring
call
it up to grade, and
Yeah.
then they put a top on it.
Yeah.
And then you can clean this out correctly.
Okay. So now you're running water. You're
Yep.
pumping it through the system.
We're-
how,
we're-
how do you know if it's good or bad?
Well, we know because before we do all that, we look down here, we take a measurement, we see where that water is. Okay, that water line. If we start to fill this, water's coming in the house now.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, this rate should flow as fast as this outgoing rate.
Okay.
So what comes
1
in?
to 1.
1 to 1, absolutely.
What comes in must go out.
Must go out.
Okay.
So if this has a crack in it, or a
Yes.
clog in it, or the baffle's that way,
Yeah.
or the drain field's saturated because it can't do anymore,
It comes
then
back
that
in.
starts backing up, and then you'll watch the water. Many times we've seen it come right
Right.
up here, right out of the ground.
Okay.
So, and we know right there that, okay,
Yes.
they have a problem, may not be the tank, it could be just
Somewhere
a clog
here.
in the line, or, remember I talked about that D-box out here in the
Yes.
yard? The D-box may be tilted ever so slightly,
Oh, yeah.
and all the waters, so you've got
Wait, what's that called?
a distribution box,
Yeah, but
D-box.
what do we call it? Fall.
Slope
It's
and
got to have
fall.
the right fall.
Absolutely.
See, I'm paying
Yeah,
attention.
and if you don't, see if that went uphill,
Yeah, that would be if I installed it. Yeah, yeah, that would fail.
So-
So here's the thing. So
Yeah.
so I've had. There's a bit of a dispute we've had sometimes. What is a hydraulic load test?
Okay. A hydraulic load test is done on properties that are vacant.
Ah.
They say vacant more than 7 days. I
Okay.
don't agree with that 7-day
Yeah.
limitation. What they say is that if a property is vacant and nobody's using it,
Yes.
the drain field, these pipes here,
Yeah.
can become dry. And then any cake that may be inside here will harden and
It's
clog-
no longer perforated.
and
then.
clog the holes.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what they say.
Okay.
But I keep saying, it rains, it snows, it's always wet underneath there
Yeah.
for the most part.
There should be some type of yeah.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Because
That's-
and the reason I ask,
they
I don't
use.
mean to
Yeah.
set you up, but
Yeah,
like,
go ahead.
I've had people do hydraulic load
Yeah.
tests, and then I'll send out like a septic repair, and they'll go, "Why did you hide?" It
Okay.
actually, they'll tell me it actually breaks the system.
Yeah, and here's the bigger thing. A lot of the guys, and Home Check has decided as a business that we do not do hydraulic load tests.
Okay.
In order to do them, you're supposed to carry 500 gallons of water.
Yes, put it in the system.
Put it in the system,
Come back.
but here's the deal. They're supposed to, for those out there doing it that are not, you're supposed to dig up the drain field like a little tulip bulb digger,
Yeah,
and you're supposed to measure water in those holes, and you're supposed to come back after you've added your water to it and see the measurement of that, almost like a perk and
yeah,
probe.
that's what I was
Then
saying.
they're supposed to come back and dump more water in it and do those very same measurements.
Yeah.
there's 5-6 pages of calculations and all that in the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association's book.
So here's what. So,
So
the people
the
that
guys aren't-
disagree
they're not
with
doing
it,
it.
they've said that the test that you did on this system would tell you if this is bad.
Correct.
Because if it's not perforated or it's caked up or whatever, you're going to get that just by putting water in here.
It'll come right back. And
Yeah.
that's, when we have done them on vacant property, but we've asked that water has to be run because they need to be run before we get there so that everything's flowing the way it should.
Yeah.
You can tell, honestly, 90% of the time, a problem with the system by doing what we call that dynamic flow test,
Right.
right from the house to the tank.
So what happens, like, so how do you, when you do a hydraulic load test, do you
Yep.
add water directly to here and bypass the tank, or do you run it through here to get
No, they're
there?
supposed to run it right into the tank, right into the out, take it right
Not
out to
in
the
here.
field. No,
So that's different for you.
Yeah.
You're doing a test here,
Yeah.
right?
The
Here
hydro-
they're bypassing this and going right to the
yeah,
system.
the hydraulic load is not to test the tank.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with it.
So
The
when
hydraulic
someone, when
load
they
is-
do that, do they normally do both?
No, when they go out to do the hydraulic load, they're supposed to be testing that drain field. Has nothing to do with the tank.
But should they do both? Because you can
Um,
hydraulic load
I'm
this
not
and have a tank issue.
Sure what they do about that. Oh, look at you, radon.
There was radon. You like that, right?
I do.
So there's the radon system. It has a sump pump, just like a.
Is there any questions on that? Anybody coming in?
Yeah. Is there anybody?
Yeah,
want
we
to
do have some.
fire them off? Let's because we got about 10 minutes yet. And I think we covered most of it. But
Yep.
and this is really good stuff. I appreciate you going into depth.
Oh, no problem.
Steve,
Yeah.
But,
Septic
what questions do you
important.
have?
Yeah.
So Keith Kohler asked cost of an inspection, which we touched on.
$345. If you do pest with it, it's $395, so only
Yep.
$50. $100 for a radon test. That's a 2-day test. They get the results right away. Water's between 50, depending on if you do a bacteria, and then if you do lead and
All the way up to
chemicals and all that
175,
other stuff,
yeah.
up to 175. Dynamic flow test for a septic.
Dynamic flow, it's all part of the septic. That's it. That's what we call
Yep,
everything.
so what's the cost of a septic?
Septic is 180.
180. That's not
Yeah.
bad at all. And the last thing we didn't talk about was mold.
Good old mold.
Yeah.
Okay. We do air quality testing in a house. If there is mold present,
Yes.
it's visibly seen, and people have to call it a mold-like substance unless you, so to speak,
Yeah.
test it for liability.
Yeah.
You can swab it, you can tape it, or most people want the air quality to test the air. Now, here's the deal with it. Mold's all around us. It's everywhere. I mean, we have
Liz
mold-
wrote a note here. I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you want us to cover anything?" She said, "Have him explain why air quality tests are BS."
Here we go. Okay.
So I'm guessing she has it.
Yeah.
And you sounds like you're
Here.
about to get. So here, real quick,
Yeah,
let's go
go
back.
ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So you go into a house. This happens
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we see this is probably
Yeah,
a
right here.
basement,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You see this a lot of times. It's not even because there's a water issue. A lot of times, particularly in vacant homes, we find that when it's you tell me.
I will.
So why would someone
Okay.
find this in a basement?
This-
What are the reasons that they?
I
might
was just
find
going to tell
something
you, mold is everywhere. Mold
In here?
Mold, it's everywhere.
We're breathing mold
We're
right
breathing mold. It's there. It's on the table. It's in the air. I mean, it is moving all over. Now, here's the deal.
Watch the table, Steve.
Here's people with weak immune systems, asthmatic, people who have had transplants or other AIDS or autoimmune deficiencies.
Yeah.
Very susceptible to mold. There are some people we're gonna get into it right now.
Hey.
Well, you get a lot of the mustard grass is out right now. You see the yellow. You and I can go run through that and not have a problem. There are other people that have serious allergy
Asthma,
issues,
stuff like that.
and they
That
have
doesn't
problems.
bother me much.
So-
Like people get the pollen count and stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me a
No,
lot.
now here's a mold like this.
Yeah.
Mold will not grow if it doesn't have moisture. It needs 60% or more to begin starting
To
how
grow.
it looks in that corner.
What kind of mold is that?
That's gonna honestly, without actually testing it, all mold has all kinds of colors.
Yeah.
White, green, black. Now people associate
Black mold has like bad
now see,
connotation with it.
people will associate that black mold with being Stachybotrys.
Yeah.
Well,
So who?
you have Stachybotrys.
Yeah.
That's the name, and that nobody knows if
Steve
that's
knows
it.
his stuff.
Yeah, I do. Nobody,
26 years of business. This dude knows his stuff.
nobody knows that until you test it. And a lot of what people.
So
don't-
wait. So just
Yeah.
to clarify,
Yeah.
you're saying the statue mold.
Yeah.
We're gonna call it the statue mold.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Statue
Yeah.
Bacchus.
Surgeon
Kind of, right?
So that mold that's generally not in houses, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, that's just a big. That was a big.
But someone will look at this and say, "Oh my God, this is black mold."
They think, and
Okay.
they're most likely going to be wrong.
But you're saying the
So-
color doesn't.
The color does
It
not-
can be black and not be
Correct.
scratchy back.
That's right. And by the way, that could just be a regular mold. If it's permitted to go, what happens, molds can change and they call them mycotoxins.
Okay.
It's the mycotoxin in mold that gives people the problems with allergies, breathing issues. Because mold changes. It
Yeah.
changes all the time.
Does,
So
does it get worse? Like if it's not, is that how?
oh, absolutely. If you don't do anything with that to take care of either, where's the water coming from? Is it coming
Right.
from a gutter, downspout?
Sometimes
poor
I've seen like
drainage?
where furnaces and they have AC that runs,
That's right.
and there's condensation that comes off of the ductwork and stuff. And I've seen a lot in estates where there's older people that don't go downstairs anymore,
Yeah.
and they don't come in and out of their house, particularly
Yeah.
out the basement, and it just kind of sits down there, and it's not even a water leak. It's just more than 60%. I would
Yeah.
imagine humidity or dampness
Yeah.
down there, and then it starts real light. Like you won't even see it here. It's just like a real like white film.
Yeah.
And then over time, it progressively gets worse.
Where
So
you're 100% right about that is that
it doesn't start like this.
no,
This
no,
mold's
no,
been-
that's,
this
that's
is-
been there for remember, mold can grow 24 hours after a moisture issue's here if it
Yeah.
doesn't get remedied. But you're correct about that controlling humidity in the house, how your ducts are set up, your dampers and air conditioning. If a house is too cold, it means it's going to be basically humid.
Yeah.
It's not taking that. It's not
Right.
getting the moisture out of the air.
Yeah.
So therefore, you go down to a basement, it's very humid, very moist. The summertime when we have 100% humidity outside,
And
it's
you add that
95
on
degrees,
top, yeah.
and then you add that cold air.
Yeah.
That's a good ground for mold to be growing in a home.
So someone sees this.
Yep.
What's the first thing you should? So you come across this on a home inspection. What do you
Yep. We call it, unless we're testing for it, we look at it and say, listen, it's
Mold.
mold-like substance,
Get it
and
tested.
where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Don't even need to test it. Look, if you see it,
do? It's there.
fix it.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it tested.
Yeah.
Why? They're just going to tell you that
It's bad.
They're going to tell you that it's coming from the mulch, the trees, the grass.
Yeah.
They're going to tell because that's where most of it comes from. Whatever's outdoors
Yeah.
is going to be indoors.
Yeah.
Not vice versa.
Yeah.
You're not getting indoor stuff without outdoor stuff.
Right.
So if you see that, look, it's a mold-like substance. What do we need to do to remediate it?
Yeah.
And we don't do that, but what do we need to do to clean it up? Where is your source of your
Water.
problem?
Yeah.
Done. A lot of times you go up into an attic and you see mold spores on a roof. That's because there's no ventilation.
No ridge vent.
There's no ridge vent, no ventilation.
Gable vent.
Gable vent,
You like
ridge
that?
vent, gable.
Ridge vent.
Yep.
Ridge vents on the ridge of the roof.
Ridge, and the
Gables are
gables
at the
on the
Do you
radiant.
need both,
Yep.
or is one acceptable?
One's acceptable.
But if you have none, so you actually taught me this.
Yep,
10 years ago, I called you and I was convinced you looked at the wrong property.
yep.
It had architectural shingles. You got to remember this was 10 years ago.
All right.
So how long have architectural shingles been around?
About 20, 30 years.
So 10 years ago,
Yeah.
it's only 10 years old in my mind.
Yes.
Right? So I look at it and go, oh man, it's got architectural shingle. It's good. I go look at the rest of the house. I get the home check report back. And this is what's awesome about what we do. And Steve said it was bad. I'm like, it can't. I mean, it's 10 years old. Like, it's no way. It's got to be a mistake. And you actually showed me, you went back and
Yep.
took pictures. There was no ventilation. It cooked from the inside out.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't the exterior. The attic got so hot, it
Yeah.
actually like boiled the shingle because there was no ventilation. I
Yeah.
never knew what the ventilation was for. It was like, well, why do you need ventilation? It likes the heat to escape and the right? Like
Yeah.
the heat escapes
Remember
so that
that
it doesn't
attic was
cook.
145, almost 150 degrees
Think
inside
about
the
that
attic.
for a second.
212 to boil, but that attic was 145 to 150.
Yeah, that's pretty hot.
It's for.
I mean, I've never boiled
I was in it.
before, but
I know it was
so
hot.
I appreciate that. Sorry about that.
I lost 10
But it
pounds,
was for
I'm
me.
good.
It was for me. I need to go hang out in that attic for about 3 days, and I'll be good. Save me a lot of exercise. But no, so I wanted to talk about mold, and then if you do an air quality test. Now, Liz was saying, again, I think the problem is expectations, and then there's these home kits that you can test, and people see the spore count.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize, like you said, is that it's all in comparison to what the outside is,
Correct.
right? So if you have, what's an acceptable spore count inside?
It depends on what they're, aspergilloma is one of the things they test for, but anything under 100
Okay.
is what they consider normal.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you ever seen a house that didn't have this that failed a mold?
yeah, I will tell, and I won't give the property's name, but
Was it mine?
no, it wasn't
Okay.
yours, no.
But
they
you give it away.
They had
Yeah.
very dirty ductwork. The filters, I don't think the filters were ever
Never
changed
changed.
in 4 or 5 years that the house was
By the
there.
way, how often should you change an air filter?
Every 3 months you should change your filters.
Oh, wow, I
And your
didn't know
both your and your heating and air
I
conditioning
would have
system.
said a year.
Yep.
So if you don't change it, what happens?
Well, what's going to happen is that your outside condenser is going to fail because that filter is going to get so
Push the water
dirty
to get
that air can't get through from the whole house.
Okay.
So here's the deal. That ductwork was so dirty, and he had 3 dogs, and the dogs pooped on the floor, nobody picked it up. All that got into the system. When we did the air quality test, it came back red. I mean, not just spore counts, but all red.
Get the hell out of
So,
there.
well, the guy that was
Go
buying
now!
it was a doctor, but
Oh my
he
God.
deals in asthmatic patients.
Oh,
So, Shipway actually came through and cleaned all those ducts and
Yeah.
cleaned everything up. I mean,
I've used that
everything.
before. They do it on mine. Just, like
Yeah.
because we changed our filters, but even still, inside the ductwork, it was just like we had like a musty smell. It wasn't mold. It wasn't, it smelled like I said, like the inside of a winter mitten when you take it off.
Yeah,
It's got
that's
the
what-
little musty smell, and I didn't know what else to do. So we called and they come out, and I thought it was something wrong with they said no, and they run almost like a Lysol kind of material through the air vent. So not only does it clean it, it kills any bacteria
And
that's
they
in
did. We tested
Yeah.
it a week after they did that.
and it was fine.
Everything came down at normal, and the guy bought the house. He's happy. So,
Lord.
he had 2 children that were very asthmatic, very.
Yeah.
So, the test does have a time and a place to find out what's there. And if it's too high, then you find out what the problem is. And there's plenty of companies out there that do remediation
Yeah.
for that today that's not too expensive to handle.
So, a couple other things
Sure.
to wrap up here.
Yeah.
Tell us about. I have down here. Why is it important to choose a reputable, knowledgeable home inspection company? Because I think most people would think before they've had one done that they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
What separates you from other companies? Because I think
Yeah,
people from a buyer's perspective.
sure.
As a seller, I've turned home inspectors away, and it's not because I have something to hide. It's just been because I sometimes I told you about the all red capital letters.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they'll go through the inspection, not really communicate with the because oftentimes. I can tell you, most people, when they go to the home inspection, just having someone there to explain certain things to them versus just sending over a report
Yeah.
and letting the agent and the buyer try and discern what it is
Yeah.
is difficult. But tell us a little bit
Just
about
to
why
answer-
should they choose you?
honestly, just to answer that question, it is it's the experience of the inspectors that we have working for us. So they have to come.
And you said you have, what,
with-
6?
We do, and you have to come to us with some trade experience. You have to know the difference between a 2x4 and a
Who's
2x8.
the guy that you have does a lot of our stuff that was he was a builder. I think he was a new home builder.
We have Tate Cruz on.
Yeah.
Alex Mirage.
Tate Cruz does a lot of like custom remodeling. He's
Yeah,
done. I live
yes.
right off of like
Yeah.
Country Club Road here.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of
Tons.
custom remodeling.
Tons.
Is
Yeah.
he still in the remodeling business?
No,
Oh, wow,
no. He worked for me many years ago, and then left to go out
Okay.
and find his.
Tate Cruz.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, Cruz on.
Yeah. That's
So,
what it is.
yeah,
Cruz
Cruz
on.
on.
I knew
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
So he came. He was
Is
done
that
with that. Matt Hodges.
Okay.
Matt. Yeah.
He's been with you for a
He's
while.
been with you a long time.
He does
yeah.
a lot of our stuff.
A lot
Good
of
guy.
stuff. Yeah, he's a good guy. Derek does, and Alex does, and Mike
Derek
Nichols. Derek Nickel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see them all when they schedule the showings.
Oh,
and
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I don't know that other than you, I might have met Matt. I think I met Matt.
Yeah.
You drive a Subaru.
We all drive Subaru.
Oh, all
Yeah.
of it. Well,
Yeah.
that's not going to help me narrow it down. Wait, that's the guy that drives a
When you
Subaru.
see
That's
him,
all of
well,
them.
yeah,
White.
white.
You're like me,
Everybody
everything
looks
I
the
buy-
same.
Yeah.
So the deal is this: is that, and we educate our guys constantly through classes, online classes, pangs to go 7 days to a school. It's constant because things are changing.
Yeah.
Mechanicals change, heat exchangers change. So we try to keep up the
Flux
best that we
capacitors.
can. Flux capacitors change, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Thermobacker mold.
all of that's important, and the fact that we're in communication with each other all the time.
Yeah.
So having guys, and all guys, they all work for Home Check. They're all full-time employees. They don't work at Lowe's on the weekends
Yeah.
and pick up some odd jobs here
Yeah.
for spare change. So we talk to each other constantly. We learn things. Hey, look, we also make mistakes,
Yeah.
but I know one of your questions were going to be why us, and the big reasons are because we do hold guarantees with the properties that we do inspect.
So here's the thing, I want
Yeah.
to know Angie Card.
I do.
Angie was
absolutely.
on one of my Facebook Lives. She wanted me to ask or have you clarify the guarantees, and
Yep.
she used the word warranties.
They're not warranties.
They're guarantees.
They're guarantees. A warranty is something that you buy.
Yes.
A
So
guarantee is
guarantees-
something you can get for free.
Okay, so
Okay.
take a second to tell us about your
So
guarantee.
I will. So the 90-day guarantee does cover the home's appliances, the mechanicals, covers heating, air, the electrical,
Yeah.
plumbing,
Yep.
covers now we have, that covers that and their dishwasher, their stove.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. We did one 2 months ago, and the lady called and said, my dishwasher's leaking
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
It wasn't during the inspection,
Right.
but if she didn't have home check, no offense, but most
Yeah.
companies would tell her, it was good the day I did it, and
So
have
what
a
happened
nice.
for her?
We sent an appliance company out. She pays a $100 deductible, and we pay up to $900 to repair
Oh, wow.
or replace the item.
Okay.
So she was
So
sick.
that's let me just
Yeah.
pause because I don't want to glaze over that.
Yeah.
I don't know any other home inspection company that has any type of guarantee.
No, they don't.
So
Yeah.
because frankly, you didn't miss it.
Yeah, correct.
It worked.
It worked.
But
That's right.
the reality is the homeowner, sometimes their expectations are if you say it's good and 3 months later it's not good, most people will believe that somebody missed something.
Yeah,
That's
this
just, I mean,
this
that's
is
right.
this is a business decision I made a long time ago.
How long have you been doing the guarantees?
20 years.
Oh, so you virtually
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I decided that
And you're
I
still doing it.
I
After
wanted-
you're doing all these
Yeah.
guarantees,
Oh,
you
yeah.
continue to do it.
We don't, our callbacks or complaints are very low because our guys do a great job.
Thorough job.
But there's always going to be
Everyone.
something once in a while, and you have to decide as a business owner to take care of it
Yeah.
or to dismiss it. And I choose, to the best of my ability, to take care of it and move on. So we also have a 1-year roof shingle replacement guarantee. So for 1 year that they have us do the building inspection, if shingles blow off during a storm, you have a small deductible. We pay up again up to $900 to repair or replace it.
Yeah.
So in our termite inspections, we have a 1-year guarantee. So if termites come into a house, now I will tell you this, even on Facebook, unfortunately, we just had a house that's 7,000 square feet, and the painter found termites in the window frame. We would have never seen it,
Right.
but they have a year guarantee with our company. Now you can only imagine what that's costing us to treat. They only paid $50 for the termite inspection,
Yeah.
but
And
we're
then $100 deductible.
several $1,000s or more to treat the property. But without the guarantee.
Did you ever question that or try and go back on it or?
No, because unfortunately, we do several thousand of these inspections a year, and I realize that some of them are going to nip us.
Yeah.
You just take care of it and move on.
No thoughts about changing or anything?
No
Just
thoughts,
the right
because
thing to do.
that's why our phone rings.
Yeah.
Because people want us to do.
Listen,
They want us to do
we've
it.
been doing it. How long did you say? I think we've been using you for.
Yeah, it's got to be. I'm thinking it might be a decade.
Yeah, I was going to say double digits.
Yeah, I think so. So and then and of course the septic inspection. We have a guarantee there on the tank.
yeah,
If that tank fails within 90 days,
yeah.
they have up to $4,000 from us to put a new one in.
Wow, which is that's almost the
That's
cost
almost the cost of the tank, of course.
depending on the size of the tank or whatever.
And then we have the guarantee from the street to the house for
Yeah.
the sewer line and the water line.
Oh, well, then I
that
don't need
pays-
a camera then.
You don't. There you go.
I just use you.
Yeah.
Like a
So
warranty.
yeah, it's
I wouldn't
it's
pay
been
for it. I
yeah.
get the guarantee and a warranty. I
So big difference.
All right.
And then we cover, of course, carpenter ants as well. So they have a 90-day guarantee with a carpenter ant. So if they get them after we do the inspection, that's treated for them as
Which
well.
is crazy
So
because how can you control whether or not they get credit?
we cannot. All we can do is inspect the best we can, but try to tell a consumer that if they get carpenter ants, that it wasn't our fault that they got them.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
the way it
there's
is.
nothing you can do to prevent
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? I mean, if
We were in
it's-
that type of business when
No,
we
that's great.
inspected.
And we've,
yeah.
we've kind of, and I
Yeah.
think that's why we work so well together because, I mean, you know.
There's
you
always
don't-
give and take, and with
I
any.
mean, I've had people that have called me 7 years after they bought a house. This is no lie. And have a question about a roof. And the one thing I always do is, like you said, you can either say, hey, pound sand, or you can take some type of responsibility. Before I say no, I always look at it.
Yeah.
And 1 out of 20 times I'll go out and there's something we did wrong. So whether it took 3 months for them to notice it or 3 years, for me, I'm still obligated to do the right thing, right? Like doing the right thing doesn't have an expiration date, So I commend you for doing that. And
Well,
I didn't mean to
you're right.
kind of twist you a little bit there about why you do it.
You're right about that. And one of the things that we do, if we do get a what we call a complaint call,
Yeah.
it's something that somebody's bothered by, that inspector that did that inspection, he's right out to that property.
That's what you do
9
for permits.
chances out of 10,
Yeah,
he'll resolve it right there with the customer.
yeah.
But the fact is that he's there
Yeah.
in their kitchen.
Take account of
Absolutely, let's take a look at it. And not everything results in negativity. I get a lady just calls at her air conditioner work. I sent the guy back down to Delta, and he turned the thermostat on to cool and turned it down, and on it came. She didn't know how to use the thermostat.
You know, the other one, my favorite too, is
happen.
when
Yeah.
someone. Oh yeah, when someone goes to. There's 2 different thermostats. Like if you have a heat pump,
Yes.
or
Yep.
you have a boiler, and then you have a separate air conditioning, because you could have a. Is this you?
No, what is that? Oh no, that's Home Check. We got a Home Check York. There it is. Bingo. Yep. There you go.
So okay, so here is this is you. Yeah, that's you.
Yep.
So here's the website, right? So
there-
you go
There it
to
is. Yep.
yourinspectionpeople.com. That's YOUR inspection people PEOPLE.com, and you can go here and you can schedule an appointment, right?
Yep. That wasn't the house that's getting the termite treatment.
Oh,
No,
it looks
that's
like a
not the one.
7,000.
It does.
And if it was, we'd have to pull that off. It would just be a bad omen. And then, is there a place on here? Where do they call if they want to get a hold of you?
I think right there, that little right there, request. They can
Request inspection.
Yep,
So if you
they
go to the
right there.
website,
Yep.
That kind
Oh,
of
wow,
goes
so
in
you
hand
put your
with one of these
ahead,
questions
what's
here
that?
and there. Customer asked, are inspections similar from township to township? More importantly, you just said that you were licensed in Maryland.
well, not to be confused. I think what they're talking about is like a permit inspection.
Yeah.
So permit inspection is only relevant to the scope of renovations that are being done. So if you call the township to come out and do an inspection because you're building a deck, they're not going to check for termites.
Correct.
They're not going to check to
So
make
your
sure you got the
inspection
problem.
standard
The
for
whole
state.
house. So from borough to borough, it doesn't change.
It doesn't, and by the way, there are no home inspectors in Pennsylvania right now that are doing a code inspection. They're doing a general inspection of the property
Because
because
you'd have to know every code.
you would have to know every code in
Yeah.
every borough, township, city. They all change the code.
Yeah, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
Your
I
township
know
is
you
it
do
changes
know that.
almost from inspection to inspection. Like
Yeah.
we'll actually have a code inspector come out. He'll give us a list. You got to do this, do this, do this, and then they'll run it through their system. Another guy comes back out for a final, and he'll pick out 3-4 other things that the other guy didn't notice. So there's so much discretion when it comes to township borough inspections, right?
Yeah.
Where Steve's is it's based off of historical standards,
Correct.
what the latest building requirements are, and then 26 years worth of experience is kind of hard to replace.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
Yeah, it's a very generalized inspection if that's what he's asking.
And then the thing I love about your reports is you break them into really 2 different categories: significant findings.
Yeah.
So talk a little. I had to know
Okay.
here. What is a significant finding?
Significant finding is something that is would be important. So let's say we issue a 30-page report. We don't want to put findings that are really important, like a plumbing leak or a roofing issue or
Mold.
a heating issue, mold. We don't want to stuff it on page 12 where the consumer might forget about it. So we put it on the significant findings page, which really has nothing to do with the real estate contract. It's on page 2. It says, okay, these are things we feel are important to you that you need to know, and
Need to be addressed.
you should correct those sooner than later is what it
even
means.
so what we do so we have a CR certified program that includes Steve and Home Check. What we do is we automatically fix the significant findings.
Yeah.
So if Steve or one of his inspectors consider it a significant finding, we fix it. They don't even have to ask for it.
Right.
The only time we have to, negotiate or work through an issue if someone sees a maintenance item, or like you break it up into grounds and then electrical and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But that's what's great about it, because other reports they just put everything together, and then people got to try and discern what is important, what's significant, and
Yeah.
what's not. For us, it's easy because they break it down to significant findings. It's typically when I explain it's safety, or I think we used to talk about like the
$300 or more,
Yeah.
or something. That used to be the end of contract, but that's something important that a customer needs. Well, for instance, if they have a $2,000 repair or replacement,
yeah.
they probably want to know about that versus putting it in deep in the report.
Yeah, and then you know what to ask for when it's,
Yeah.
you know, if a roof is shot, that's typically someone should replace it. Like
Yeah.
if it's beyond its useful life, is that the terminology you use? Maybe
We never, okay, and this is important, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
We never say anything's beyond its useful life
Yeah.
because, again, the state of Pennsylvania, for building inspectors,
Yeah,
does not want you
time.
to take something on its life expectancy.
Yeah.
So
So
we
how
don't,
do you know
we,
it? Like,
we
what-
just say it's simple. If I'm on a roof, I know it's the end of its useful life. But
Yeah.
that's not a comment we're going to be making. We're going to be putting major weathering, aging, cracking, curling. Call a qualified specialist to come in and give you a replacement estimate. Done.
Yeah.
It didn't say it was beyond its
What if
life.
it's in the
or-
gray area?
Gray areas are, I'll tell you,
Like a roof, like it's not
it's
major
very,
weathering,
very,
it's a
well,
little weathering.
we'll put minor weathering aging, and that is a, we have to make a call.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys will send photos around. What do you think? Where am I at?
Minor, major.
We gotta make the call, and we generally make them
There's
good.
a lot of people
Yeah.
counting on the results of that home inspection. I love the fact
Yeah.
that you guys take, because I think, I've, not to roll anybody, but,
Yeah.
I've seen 100 different home inspections, and it's almost like, here it is, deal with it, figure it out, and you guys fight over it.
Yeah.
Where when I deal with Steve or any of his inspectors, you guys will actually take a phone call. This is what I've seen. You guys have reached out to customers before where, there's something in there that it's not gray, but they don't know how to process it.
Yeah.
And you guys will reach out to the agent or the consumer and say, here's what we found.
Absolutely.
And, and I think a lot of people, we've done it for so long that a lot of people would say, well, that's your home inspector. I'm like, no. He is, a home inspector's been in business for 26 years. He's
Yeah.
going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, what's bad, what's
Yeah.
good, regardless of our relationship.
Correct.
That's really what and you guys have a great, so if I were to put out ABC home inspections, most people wouldn't accept it. Over 75% of the people that buy our properties accept home checks, home inspection without doing
And they know that they don't know it, but I know it. Our relationship's always one of professionalism. You want to sell great properties, we want to inspect them, and consumers are going to live in great properties, and that's pretty much the end of the story.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So hopefully this has been helpful information. I appreciate you taking the time. Justin,
Sure.
do you have anything? You're just getting
Not
into
really.
the business.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of good information. Do you recommend home inspections prior, or obviously
Well,
buying,
for CR,
selling, right?
Yeah.
Buying a home, selling a home. But do you recommend, like 10 years down the road, somebody buys a house,
That's
10
a
years
good
down the
question.
road?
it's a great one. You know what's funny? Yeah, people will spend more time on their Mercedes-Benz taking care of that than they will their $500,000 home.
Yeah.
They will. They'll shine the wheels right outside the garage, but as far as changing the filter in the furnace,
Let's do this. Let's do something cool. Anybody that's watching, put in the comments the town and the state that you're in, where you're watching from, all right? And then I'm going to draw out of there 3 names. And I'll draw 3 names, and CR Property Group will give you a free whole house inspection. Okay? So post in there where you're watching from, okay? Town and state. If you live in Thomasville, Airville, Delta, Spring Grove, Shiloh, Dover, put that in the comments, okay? And I'll draw randomly 3 people out of that, and we'll give a free home inspection. Do you do like a gift card, or how would I do that?
yeah, you could. However
You
you
write
want
me
to-
like a little
Yeah.
statement or something
Yeah.
that says, hey, here's
Yeah.
a free home inspection.
Yeah.
And remember, you can do that not even if you're buying a property. Real estate agents, if you're watching, put your name in. You can use it for one of your clients. You can give them a free home inspection. But post that in there, the town that you're watching from in the state, and then I'll draw everybody that put that in there. We'll pull out 3 names, and we'll give away a free whole house inspection. That's a savings of $345, and with that you get all the guarantees.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And if you want to schedule a home inspection or learn more about Home Check, go to yourinspectionpeople.com. There's a phone number on there. They have a scheduling page right on there, resources, everything that you want. It's been great. I appreciate you having me
Yeah,
here.
thanks.
Here's to
It's
another
always-
decade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Justin, thanks for being
Thanks.
here.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
I'm going to sign off. You guys, again, thanks so much we got Monday Night Football. Who do you got tonight? Green Bay?
Oh, it's Green
And
Bay playing?
Green Bay, and I'm not sure who else. We'll see you, everybody. Have a good night.